Okay, now I want to just talk a bit about proofing my document. It's nearly finished now. I've done a good bit of work on it. I'm starting to be happy with how it's looking. So I want to check have anything else I want to add in. So looking down through it, I see, oh, I don't have page numbers in it. So I'm going to insert some page numbers. So insert page numbers. Do I want them at the bottom of the page or the top? I'll go with the bottom and I'll put them on the right, and I want the number on first page. So that's all fine. Click OK and they pop up here. The other thing is you can put in a header. So if you double click at the top of the page, then you can type in. So let's say I'm going to call this Karen Dunn's sample assignment. You don't have to put a header in, but it's handy. This text will appear on every page of the document unless I tell it otherwise. You can see now each of the pages here, it's showing up with that header, and the page numbers are appearing as a footer on each one. So that's fine. Then I want to have a look and proof it. So I'm going to carefully read down through the document to check that everything is as I want it to be. What I'm saying makes sense to my reader. I've organised my work into logical paragraphs. I'm checking for spelling and grammar. So this can take quite a while to do correctly. It is worth spending time on it. But you can see here, for example, I've noticed I've said endotracheal tube up here. Then I'm referring to endotracheal tubes as using an abbreviation here, ET, but I haven't explained what ET stands for. So I'm going to replace ET with endotracheal. Okay. I could also put my abbreviation in there where I've referred to it in the text and leave ET as it was here. Either is fine. I'm going to assume that someone might just look at the document and only read the table if they were looking for, say, sizes, in which case they won't go and look up endotracheal elsewhere. So I'm going to leave it as endotracheal in both of them. Looking on down through it, anything else jumping out at me? Remember we changed the line spacing to 1.5. You can, if you want, change it. If you find your table is getting too big and going on to the next page on you, you can reduce the line spacing to make the table take up less room. But at the same time, I don't want to make it too cramped. That's looking a bit too small. Whereas I think that's okay. That's 1.15 and the table is still legible. It has, however, left a bit more space here on this document. And I've now got a kind of a gap. So I'm going to see, I wonder would this paragraph fit in there? Let's have a look. It will. Okay, without hopping on to the next page. So again, I'm going to check that my spacing looks all right. I'm avoiding big gaps of white space on the page. Okay. Then I'm looking at anything underlined in red. Word thinks it's spelled incorrectly. In this case, that's just how that person spells their surname, so I'm going to ignore that. But it is useful. Now you can see, because I changed my spacing above, I've now have to put a new line back in there to set these two paragraphs off. You can see as well, Word thinks I'm spelling this incorrectly. So you can, again, control and left click or right click on it, and it'll give you options. So vaporizer, vaporizer, vaporizers. The reason it wants to put take out the U in there is that it thinks it's spelled incorrectly without it, and then it's giving me options. Generally, IS is going to be UK English and IZ is going to be American English. Americans tend to use Zs where UK English uses S's. I want to stick with the UK English, I'm going to select vaporizer. Okay. You can also do that by going up to tools and using your spelling and grammar check. So you can ask it to hide or show them. Okay. Anything else looking down through it now popping out at me? This is just underlying the author's name. That's spelled correctly. That's okay. We can ignore that. The ND there means that the article that I took this illustration from had no date on it. It's actually from a web page. So Veterinary Advances website has this on it, but it hasn't got the date in there. Looking down here, I can see, I didn't put that reference in yet. So we'll have to go back and add my Veterinary Advances source of this image. You can either put the image sources into your reference list, or you can put a separate section for illustrations on their own. I prefer to separate them out, but it's not critical. Again, it's personal choice. Haven't done that yet. Anything else jumping out at me here? No. Ambu bag again. Okay, so Ambu is a trade name. It's one of the manufacturers of Ambu bags, or rebreathing bags. I don't want to leave that in there. I want to refer to it by the type of the equipment rather than trade names, because someone reading this might know what an Ambu bag is, and I'm not being sponsored by them either. So I'm going to change that via it was self-inflating resuscitation bag. Grand. And then I've got my key ventilation parameters and I've got my reference list in. Okay, so that's an overview of a quick proofread through it. I would still need to go back and add in my reference here. So what I tend to do is, if I notice bits in the document that I have to still work on, I'll highlight them in yellow like this. So then when I come back, let's say I come back to this tomorrow, I think, where did I stop? I'll just look for the yellow bits and I know that's where I was working yesterday, or that's something I still have to work on. When the document is finally finished, there'll be no more yellow highlighting on it. So that can be a handy way as well. Let's say I come back and I put in the reference for that and I go, right, okay, that's done now. I'm going to take off that color fill and that tells me I've finished this bit. So it's up to yourself. You'll get your own system for working with this, but try and make it easy for yourself, that when you come back, you know where you left off and you're not wasting 5 or 10 minutes wondering what I was doing when I stopped working on this document last. It does take a while to proofread and check the work carefully before you submit it, but it is worth it. It's easy marks to get, are the presentation layout marks, and also it creates a professional appearance. If you're producing work that isn't well laid out or is poorly spelt and so on, it doesn't create a good impression. And same thing if you're writing CVs or clinical records, just try and get in the habit of proofreading as you go, so you're producing documents that someone looks at and thinks that that person did a good job on that. Okay, thanks.